I got involved with the PPN nationally before they even started. I was involved with the Environmental Pillar of Social Partnership, which is a coalition of 30-odd environmental non-government organisations. And we were very involved in setting up of the PPNs in the first place. And so when it came to it then of setting up the Tipperary PPN, I was one of the first people involved in that, along with some of the other people you've met today. And we set up Tipperary PPN as the independent PPN of Tipperary back in 2014. We were actually a pilot project, and we started maybe 6 months before any other PPNs around the country. From the very start, the PPNs were set up to allow local groups to get involved through the PPN with local government. So there were a number of strategic policy groups which are part of the county council, and there would be, for instance, one on the environment, one on housing, one on planning. And members of groups were voted by the PPN to be on those strategic policy committees. So it's a direct way of getting influence of groups through the PPN into how local policy in Tipperary was set up. Also, there was a committee called the Local Community Development Committee, which was, again, pulling together all the strands of community development within the county. I actually was the first chair of that committee as a PPN rep. So the PPNs were very much involved in that, very much setting the scene on how community development should be done and can be done in Tipperary. Well, I think Tipperary PPN has always been a leading PPN in the country. We have a very good working relationship with the County Council, and we do go into these meetings with the view of we're here to help. Tipperary at PPN has 1,700 or so groups, and there are a lot of very interested, very worthy people, very expert people with long-lived experience, who can bring all that experience directly into the council through the SPCs, through the LCDC. And I think that has been very successful, and I take it is going to continue and be an underlying part of how the council works. We also developed the idea of a community well-being statement. This is a statement which sets out how the community feels about itself, how the community feels about the health of the community, about the environment, about schooling, about all housing and so on. And we developed that back in 2020 and published it then. And it is already underlying a number of the council's own plans, like the LECP, which is a local economic and community plan. So that's been very good. We're going to, later on in the year, we're going to go around and just bring that up to date. So we're always doing that sort of thing. But that's very much the sort of thing that the PPN is doing, is trying to bring that community voice directly into the plans of the council. There are 31 PPNs in the country, and there is a number of networking groups amongst the PPNs themselves. There's a network of all the secretariat members, there's a different network of all the resource workers, and then there's the National Advisory Group, of which I sit on as an environmental rep, which are there to help develop the PPNs and make sure that they're going in the right direction, help solve. There are, obviously, in any situation, there are problems around the country, and we help to try and solve those problems and bring everybody forward so as to actually be able to have proper public participation. I think we've moved public participation in this country from what used to be just a tick box exercise where the council would come and tell you all their wonderful plans, and you were expected to say, oh, well, that's wonderful, great. Now, in fact, there's this mechanism of the community being able to actually feed back into those plans and to be listened to, which is the important part. Because you know, if you go to a meeting, you know when you're not being listened to. And the council in Tipperary do always listen to us. Over the past 10 years of my involvement in Tipperary PPN, I've met a number of great people. Everybody that's involved in the Secretariat have always worked hard to try and move us forward, and we have done. And one of the things about PPNs is that, you know, we're always trying to get new people in, old people retired. I actually stepped off the Secretariat for 2 years, and they asked me to come back there recently. But it's always people that are always working on behalf of and for the actual PPN itself. So I'd like to thank the number of people that did that, and the ones that started it all, along with myself, and I think Tipperary still remains as the top PPN of the country.